Hey, it's Elena. Revenge Shift tells stories you won't forget. Subscribe if you're ready. Let's begin. I'm Rebecca Chin, 31 years old. To my family, I'm the boring one who wastes her potential working as a compliance officer for the State Housing Finance Agency. My father calls it glorified paperwork. My mother tells people I could have been a real estate developer if I'd taken the family money Dad offered when I was 22. I didn't take his money. Instead, I bought a modest 1,200 square foot bungalow in 2013 for $187,000 with my own savings and a conventional mortgage. I spent 12 years paying it down, renovating it myself on weekends, watching the neighborhood transform around me. Last year, a developer offered me $825,000. I declined. It's my home. My brother Jason is 28. He's never held a job longer than 8 months. He's lived with our parents his entire adult life, rent-free in their 4,500 square foot house in the suburbs. They call him entrepreneurial when he pitches cryptocurrency schemes at Thanksgiving. They call me risk-averse because I have a 401k. The text came on a Wednesday at 2:47 p.m. Mom, your brother's wife is pregnant. They're moving into your house tomorrow. Clear out anything you want to keep. I stared at my phone for 30 seconds, read it again, then I called her. Hi, honey. Mom's voice was bright. Did you get my message? The message where you told me someone is moving into my house. The house I own. Oh, Rebecca, don't be dramatic. It's the family home. I bought it with my own money 12 years ago. My name is on the title alone. She laughed, that dismissive laugh she's perfected over 3 decades. Technically, yes, but you know what I mean. Jason and Brittany need space for the baby. You're just one person in a 3-bedroom house. It's selfish. Mom, it's my house. Your father and I discussed it. Jason needs stability right now. Brittany's family has expectation. You can move into Jason's old room here until you find a nice apartment, something more appropriate for a single woman. I'm not moving out of my house. Rebecca, her voice shifted to the tone she uses when she's about to explain something she considers obvious. Jason is starting a family. You're 31 and single. This is about priorities. Family takes care of family. Then why isn't he moving into your house? You have 4 extra bedrooms. We need our space. Your father's office, my craft room, the guest suite for when people visit. We can't have a baby disrupting our routine, but you can disrupt my entire life? Don't be difficult. Jason's loading the truck now. Just leave your key under the mat. She hung up. I sat in my office, the office where I review housing discrimination complaints and Fair Housing Act violations for the state, and felt something cold settle in my chest. Not panic, not even anger yet, just clarity. I opened my laptop and pulled up the county property record. There it was, Rebecca Lynn Chin, sole owner, purchased April 2013, current assessed value $782,000. No liens except my nearly paid off mortgage. No other names on the title, no ambiguity. Then I opened the encrypted folder I maintain for my job. Inside were templates I use professionally, cease and desist letters for illegal eviction, unlawful entry notifications, trespassing warnings formatted for law enforcement. I'd never thought I'd use them on my own family. I modified a template, filled in my home address, printed it on official State Housing Finance Agency letterhead, and called Sheriff Miller's non-emergency line. Sheriff Miller, this is Rebecca Chin. I have a property rights issue that requires law enforcement presence. My family is attempting to move into my home without permission or legal authority. I have documentation of sole ownership and need a civil standby while I secure my property. Rebecca from Oakmont Drive, the blue bungalow. Yes, sir. I'll be there in 20 minutes. Don't engage until I arrive. I drove faster than I should have. When I pulled up to my house at 4:17 p.m., the U-Haul was in my driveway. My brother was carrying my grandmother's antique dresser, the one I'd restored myself out of my bedroom. My mother was directing him like a foreman. Brittany sat in their car scrolling her phone. I parked on the street and called the sheriff again. I'm here. They're actively removing my belongings. Stay in your car. I'm 3 minutes out. I watched my brother make 2 more trips. A box labeled Rebecca's kitchen. My own kitchen utensils. My own furniture. Everything being carried out belonged to me, purchased with my own money for the home I had worked so hard to own. At precisely 4:23 that afternoon, a sheriff's patrol vehicle turned into the driveway. Sheriff Miller stepped out, calm and professional. At 52 years old, he had spent his entire career in law enforcement and had built a reputation for taking property ownership very seriously. seriously. His first stop was my mother. "Ma'am," he asked politely, "do you have permission from the owner to be on this property?" She looked surprised for a moment before forcing a confident smile. "Oh, Sheriff, you've misunderstood. This is simply a family situation. My son is moving into the house." He remained expressionless. "Does your son legally own this property?" "Well, technically the deed is in my daughter's name," she admitted, "but we're family. She's agreed to let him stay here." The sheriff turned toward me. "Ma'am, is that correct?" I stepped away from my car, holding the folder I had brought with me. "No, Sheriff. I am the sole owner of this property. I have never given anyone permission to enter, move in, or remove any of my belongings. I'd like to file a trespassing complaint and request that everyone be removed immediately." My mother's face instantly lost its color before flushing bright red with anger. "Rebecca, what are you doing?" "I'm protecting my legal property." I handed Sheriff Miller my document, the property deed, my driver's license showing my address, and the cease and desist notice I had prepared beforehand. He examined everything carefully before shifting his attention to my brother, who had stopped in the middle of carrying one of my boxes. "Sir, do you have any paperwork proving ownership, a lease agreement, or written authorization allowing you to occupy this residence?" Jason glanced nervously at Mom. She told me." The sheriff interrupted calmly. "I'm asking for documentation, not verbal promises." Jason lowered his eyes. "No, I don't have anything in writing." Sheriff Miller gave a small nod. "Then you're currently trespassing on private property. I need every item returned to the home immediately, and after that you'll need to leave the premises." "This is unbelievable," my mother protested as she stepped closer. "Sheriff, she's my daughter. She's acting completely unreasonable. Jason has a baby coming. I understand this involves family." Sheriff Miller replied evenly. "However, the law is very clear. Ms. Chin is the legal owner of this property. She alone has the authority to decide who may enter or live here." Then he faced Jason again. "You have no legal right to occupy this residence." My mother turned toward me, her voice trembling. "Rebecca, you're really going to do this? You're putting your own brother out." "He isn't being put out," I answered. "He already lives with you in your 4,500 square foot house. That's no place to raise a family. Then he should find his own home, just like I did when I was 22. Her eyes narrowed. "You're being spiteful." Before the argument could continue, Sheriff Miller raised one hand. "Ma'am, from a law enforcement standpoint, you have only two options. Either everyone voluntarily returns the property and leaves, or criminal trespassing charges will be filed." He checked his watch. "You have 10 minutes. Jason didn't argue. Without another word, he turned around and carried the dresser back into my house. His face had turned crimson, and he never looked in my direction. One trip after another, he returned every box they had taken outside. My books, my clothes, my dishes, everything. My mother remained standing in the driveway with her arms folded tightly, watching me with an expression that made it seem as though I had become a complete stranger. Finally, she spoke. "You've changed." Her voice was soft. "You used to be such a sweet girl." I looked straight back at her. "I used to let everyone take advantage of me," I replied. "There's a big difference." Brittany finally climbed out of the truck. She looked exhausted, resting a hand on her 4-month pregnant stomach as she glanced between everyone. "Jason, what's going on?" "We're leaving," he answered quietly. "But your mom told us." "It doesn't matter what she told us." He dropped another box onto the porch with obvious frustration. "This house doesn't belong to us." "Certainly. Here's the continuation from where the previous part ended." Within only a few minutes, everything they had taken outside was back where it belonged. The moving truck, which had arrived expecting to unload an entire household, left the driveway almost empty. By 4:45 p.m., it was pulling away from my property. My mother lingered longer than everyone else. Before climbing into her car, she fixed me with a disappointed stare. "Your father is going to hear about this." "I'm sure he will." She shook her head slowly. "Don't expect us to help you ever again." I met her gaze without hesitation. "I stopped expecting help from you years ago. That's exactly why I worked hard enough to buy my own home." She said nothing else. She closed the door, started the engine, and drove away. Sheriff Miller handed my paperwork back. "The first thing I'd recommend is replacing every lock on the house." "I planned on doing that today." He nodded approvingly. "What about security cameras?" "Not yet. I'd install them immediately." "I will. If anyone comes back without your permission, call us right away. This incident has now been officially documented. If they return after today, it becomes criminal trespassing." "Thank you, Sheriff." He gave me a respectful nod before walking back to his patrol vehicle. "For what it's worth," he said, pausing before opening the door, "you protected your legal rights. Family relationships don't cancel property law." After he left, I wasted no time. By 6 o'clock that evening, every exterior lock had been replaced. Before 8, a Ring doorbell and 2 security cameras had been installed and tested. Every entrance to the house was now covered. Once everything was secure, I sent my mother one short text. Asterisk, any attempt to enter my property without my explicit written permission will be reported to law enforcement immediately. Asterisk, she never replied. At 9:30 that night, my phone rang. It was my father. The moment I answered, his voice exploded through the speaker. Rebecca, your mother's beside herself. What exactly did you do? I stopped someone from illegally taking over my home. Don't exaggerate, he snapped. Jason simply needed somewhere to stay. Then let him stay in one of the 4 empty bedrooms at your house. That's different. How? We're retired. We need our privacy. So do I. There was a brief silence. It's my house, Dad. We're your family. And family helps each other. I agree. He seemed relieved for a split second. So help Jason. I am helping him. How? By expecting him to become an independent adult. He sighed impatiently. He just needs a fresh start. Then help him find an apartment. He can't afford one. Then help him find a better job. He has responsibilities now. So do I. His frustration became obvious. Nobody was trying to steal anything. I took a slow breath before answering. Mom decided she could give away my house without asking me. She had movers carrying my belongings outside. She told Jason the house was his. If a stranger had done that, you'd call it theft. You're twisting things. No. The sheriff explained the law very clearly. The line went quiet for several seconds. Finally, he asked in disbelief, you actually called the police on your own family? I called the police because people were trespassing on my property. They happened to be family. His voice hardened. I never imagined my own daughter would do something like this. And I never imagined my parents would try to hand my home to my brother. You're making this sound far worse than it was. Really? I continued before he could interrupt. I spent 12 years building my career, saving money, and making sacrifices so I could own this house. So, Jason spent those same 12 years living with you rent-free. That's your brother. And I'm your daughter. Another long silence filled the call. Then I asked the question that had lived inside me for years. Have those two relationships ever meant the same thing to you? He never answered. Instead, the call ended. The following morning, I spoke with my supervisor at work. I explained everything that had happened and mentioned the cease and desist notice I had prepared before driving home. I wanted to make sure I handled everything appropriately, I said. I used one of our standard property rights templates. She looked at me thoughtfully. You're the sole owner? Yes. The title is completely clear? Yes. Then you used it exactly as intended. I wasn't sure because it involved family. She leaned back in her chair. Rebecca, you've worked here for 9 years. I know. In those 9 years, you've helped process thousands of housing cases. I nodded. You've protected tenants from illegal evictions. Yes. You've handled property rights disputes. Many. You know these laws better than most people. I smiled weakly. I suppose I do. The only reason you're questioning yourself is because the people violating your rights happen to share your last name. That sentence settled something inside me. For the first time since everything happened, I felt my shoulders relax. Thank you, I said quietly. She nodded. Keep copies of everything. Save every message. If your family escalates this situation, document every interaction. If necessary, our legal department can point you toward the right resources. I thanked her again before leaving her office. Unfortunately, the situation didn't end there. Later that afternoon, my phone began vibrating almost nonstop. My mother had created a family group text. According to her version of events, I had forced a pregnant woman onto the street and abandoned my own family during a crisis. One message after another appeared on my screen. Rebecca, how could you do this? Your poor mother is heartbroken. I can't believe you treat your brother this way. Family should always come first. Instead of answering each person individually, I sent one response to everyone. Asterisk, I am the sole owner of my home. Several family members entered my property without permission and attempted to move into it. Law enforcement responded, confirmed my ownership, and documented the incident. Anyone who wants the complete timeline, photographs, and sheriff's report is welcome to ask. Asterisk, within minutes, the conversation went completely silent.